With the police surrounding the hospital, Minene takes Naoko and Yu hostage and tries to bargain with Keigo. But Keigo refuses to negotiate and seeks to win the survival game by himself. Yuki gets captured by the police inside the hospital, but Yuno appears holding a stun grenade when Keigo tries to apprehend him, and she shoots 5 policemen who don't even attempt to stop her. She detonates the stun grenade, knocking all of them unconscious. Meanwhile, after setting a timed bomb which went off shortly after the flash grenade detonated, Minene tries to escape the hospital, only to run into Nishijima. After Minene explains to Nishijima about the deal she and Keigo made and how he framed Yuki and Yuno, the two rush back to the hospital. Yuki regains consciousness and tries to shoot Keigo, but he uses Yuno as a shield, despite his diary predicting he will kill Yuno if he shoots. Yuki refuses to give up, proclaiming his love for her. The future somehow changes, and Yuki gets a clean shot at Keigo. Minene arrives with Nishijima, who places Keigo under arrest. Keigo now has a nullified diary, as he is now a criminal. After learning his family has been rescued, Keigo asks Minene to take care of his son, apologizes to Yuki, and breaks his own diary, removing himself from existence. Yuki and Yuno are exonerated even though they shot and seriously injured many people thanks to files Keigo left behind. While Minene escapes yet again, a few days later, Aru sends Yuki a text message warning him about Yuno, but she intercepts and deletes it. When Deus realizes that Murmur manipulated events to hasten Keigo's elimination, she claims she wants the game concluded before he has to retire and challenges him to a wager on the winner of the survival game, with her picking Yuno and Deus betting on Yuki. Meanwhile, Yuki and Yuno go on a stargazing trip, but Yuno alters his destination along the way, worried about Yuki's safety. Aru contacts Nishijima and they manage to narrow Yuki and Yuno's location down to a rundown holiday resort, enlisting Hinata, Mao, and Kosaka to search for them. As they split up and search the abandoned hotels, Aru and Kosaka face various traps set by Yuno, while Hinata is tricked by a text message Yuno sent from Yuki's cell phone. When the others attempt to find Hinata, they get locked in a room which starts to fill up with gas. At the end of the episode, a dazed Yuki is shown bound to a chair, with an ecstatic Yuno sitting behind 2 skulls in her underwear as she begins to feed him. Aru talks to Yuno through her surveillance feed, revealing he dug up 3 corpses from her garden, 2 of which had recently had their skulls removed. When he threatens to give this information to the police unless she releases them, the stress causes Yuno to alter her memory again, rendering negotiations moot. As Kosaka uses his cell phone to post his will in his blog, it is apparently turned into a future diary by the 8th future diary holder, who addresses him as an apprentice. Advised by Aru, Kosaka acts out his diary's predictions to crawl through a ceiling vent, reaching an amnesiac Yuno, a catatonic Yuki, and a bound Hinata in the control room. His appearance causes Yuki to recover, recalling how Yuno abducted him to keep him safe until July 28th. Yuno places the key to Yuki's shackles on the floor and tosses Kosaka the control panel key, allowing him to free Aru and Mao. Yuno then takes advantage of Kosaka's distractions and shoots at him with a crossbow. However, Yuki, having had his key kicked over to him by Hinata, frees himself and slaps Yuno across the face, stopping her and leaving her behind when his diary predicts the imminent arrival of 3 future diary holders, all apprentices of the 8th future diary holder. Deus informs Yuki that the 8th future diary holder has the ability to host and send predictions to the blogs of her apprentices via a server. When Yuki's diary predicts an attack by the 3 apprentices, Aru has him moved to Kosaka's mansion. His plan is to lure the apprentices in, then deactivate the area's cell phone tower, severing their connection to the server of the 8th future diary holder. Once the attack begins, however, Yuno appears to cut the power to the tower remote control, wanting to defend Yuki by herself. Aru and Kosaka rush to deactivate the tower manually, while Yuki keeps Yuno in restraints. 2 of the apprentices, Marco, Ikusaba, and Ai Makami, manage to corner Yuki and Yuno by the time Aru deactivates the tower. However, Marco and Ai showcase their bona fide diaries, which have remained unaffected, revealing that they are both the 7th future diary holder. With no other choices, Yuki releases Yuno, who intimidates the couple into retreating. However, when the 3rd apprentice, Taro Takun Nanba, sets the mansion on fire, Marco and Ai counterattack. Their ability to predict each other's actions manages to overwhelm Yuno, resulting in her and Yuki getting injured and their diaries taken away. As Yuki and his friends are brooding in the hospital, they are approached by Minene, who poses as a nurse. Aru deduces that Marco and Ai have not destroyed Yuki and Yuno's diary because they want to take advantage of the information they provide. In order to confuse them, he has Minene feed Yuki false information. Yuki's divorced father, Kuro Amano, visits him in the hospital, but while Yuki's away, he searches the room for his cell phone. Yuno overhears that he has promised to destroy it in return for the cancellation of his substantial debt and realizes it's being used by the 11th future diary holder. Marco, who has learned all about the situation from Yuki's diary, considers Kuro as a useful link to Minene and the 11th future diary holder, and calls Yuno, demanding that they bring Kuro to an abandoned commercial tower. Once they arrive, Marco places Yuki and Yuno's cell phones on a table and attacks Kuro. As Yuki futilely fights Marco, his father goes over to the table and breaks his cell phone. Yet nothing happens. Realizing that the cell phones were decoys, Yuno attacks Ai and successfully retrieves both diaries. Just then, Taro sets off explosives, collapsing the floor under Yuki, and both Kuro and Yuno reach out to grab him. Meanwhile, Nishijima has uncovered the identity of the 8th future diary holder as a children's caretaker named Kamado Ashita, and goes to search her orphanage. In a flashback, Marco and Ai are abandoned children who meet in a commercial tower, grow up in Kamado's orphanage, and eventually fall in love. In the present, Yuki chooses to take Yuno's hand, while Marco and Ai run to the crumbling tower's roof with Yuki's father intending to jump off with parachutes. Yuno catches up to them and once again tries to fight them alone. While Yuki hides and attempts to help her with his diary's predictions, Yuno loses and has her cell phone taken away. But it turns out to be Marco and Ai's decoy, which distracts them with false predictions. As a result, Yuno manages to critically injure Ai. Kuro grabs one of the 2 parachutes and escapes the tower, but he runs into his ex-wife Ria, who has been informed of the situation by Nishijima. When she threatens to turn him in, he stabs her. Yuki, Yuno, and the dying Ai are trapped in the wreckage, but Marco attempts to free Ai despite having been mortally wounded himself. With Yuki and Yuno's help, the debris is cleared out and Marco and Ai die together as the tower collapses. Meanwhile, Nishijima has been unable to find Kamado's future diary server. Yuki and Yuno escape using the 2nd parachute, only to find Ria has died. A year ago, Yuki was paired with Mo Wakaba, a classmate of his, to purchase supplies for an upcoming school festival, preparing to give her a love letter at the right moment. In the mall, Yuno, disguised in a bunny suit, made several attempts to prevent Yuki from doing so, since she was secretly in love with Yuki. But she's stopped by the security guards. When she returned home, Yuno was revealed to have murdered her parents Saika Gasai and Ushio Gasai, a pair of bankers who were revealed to have abused her when she failed to meet their standards. In the present, after Yuki asks Deus to bring his mother back to life, Deus reveals that he's dying and his powers have faded, explaining that all of existence will collapse unless a successor is determined soon. When Kuro comes home injured, Yuki demands him to turn himself in for killing Ria, although there is no actual evidence to comply. The next day, Yuki trails Kuro from a pawn shop to a local shrine hoping for evidence, but it turns out that Kuro wanted to visit the site where his family was going to be stargazing before he turned himself in. While reconciling with Yuki, Kuro is suddenly stabbed in the chest with a knife. Yuki is then ambushed by agents of the 11th future diary holder, yet he manages to fight back and kill the agents. After Yuno arrives to help him, Yuki declares that he is now determined to win the survival game in order to attain the power to resurrect his parents. When he tells Yuno this means he has to kill her, she calmly replies that she is ready to die for him at any time. John Balks, the mayor of Sakurami City, convincingly passes a motion to have Kamado's orphanage shut down, and he later attends Deus's meeting where Yuki exposes his identity as the 11th future diary holder, after much research about him 5 days earlier. Minene relays this news to Nishijima, who reveals his reassignment as one of Balk's bodyguard and his discovery that Yuno was adopted. Yuno is theorizing that Balks wants to seize Kamado's server, has Yuki form an alliance with Kamado to have her apprentices ambush Balks while driving on the country road. However, Balks uses a jammer to sever connections to Kamado's server. In anticipation of this, Yuki and Yuno betray Kamado and slaughter her defenseless apprentices, prompting Kamado to flee in Balk's car while Yuki and Yuno give chase, eventually cornering them. Minene appears with Aru, who retrieves Yuno's umbilical cord from her orphanage, revealing that its DNA matches with the 3rd corpse. This means that the real Yuno Gasai is dead, and the one Yuki has known all along is actually an imposter. Despite Aru's revelation, Yuki declares his trust in Yuno. Balks connects Kamado's server to Holon, a supercomputer which holds users' accounts of every citizen of the city, making them his apprentices. Minene tries to attack Bulks, but his diary lets him turn the tables. Nishijima, who has fallen in love with Minene, comes to her aid and destroys the supercomputer. However, it turns out to be only one part of the whole, and Bulk's plan is put into motion. As Aru sends Hinata, Mao, and Kosaka to help Minene and Nishijima destroy the remaining parts of Holon, Minene figures out Bulk's diary can read the predictions of all other future diaries. Deus reveals to Minene that Bulks helped him design the future diaries, wishing to grant divine power to the human race. Minene, Nishijima, Hinata, Mao, and Kosaka storm Holon's location, overriding their diary's predictions to confuse Bulks. In response, Bulks makes use of the diary of his secretary, Ryuji Kurosaki, and manages to capture Hinata, Mao, and Kosaka, as well as injure Minene and kill Nishijima. Minene is saved by Yuki and Yuno, who have used her as bait to get Bulks. And that's the end of the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel while you're at it. And as always, I will see you in the next video.